Yesterday videos. This is a new segment about things that I have already spoken about in reference to the Bible. Now I'm just going to talk straight about these things, but they have referenced already in some of my presentations. I talked about the third and fourth generation. The third and fourth generation is usually referred to in reference to a whole period where 4 generations have existence in one period. So when we talk about the book of Matthew, when we talk about 14 generations, then 14 generations, and then 14 generations. And I use that, the book of Matthew, to show how time is counted for generations. That is not in the millions. It don't even exceed a time period that goes into the hundreds, thousands of years or to the 10,000s of years. If you look at the book of Matthew, you'll see it in the beginning of the book. It tells you from Abraham all the way to Christ was I believe 14 generations, then 14 generations, 14 generations. That was it. You go back to Noah, and it doesn't exceed 7,000 years to Noah to Christ. Now, if you believe in the Bible, this is what the Bible attests to in reference to time, and there has not been anything outside the Bible calling that information a lie. That information is well documented, because if you go back as far as you can go to the Bible and count the time, like for instance, when the original text, which is the Hebrew and Greek text, was put together by King James and published in 1611, I believe, that year was only a couple of hundred years back. See, but then they had the same book of Matthew in there with the same information. Now we go back to the original text from Moses, who is the author and the beginning of the representation of the information about the creation. Before then, we had other books talk about the creation. The J documents. You had other books too, but I won't get into all of them. They come under the pseudepigrapha, which is meaning pseudo being false, and pigrapha meaning documents, that you write on. Pigrapha, or in that time it could be skin or something that you write on. Now, false in this case don't mean that it's false. It means that you can't identify the author. That's all that meant. Pseudepigrapha. Then you have the early fathers' writings. They go back, Then you have the books that had problems. Those came out of the library in Egypt during the time of Alexander the Great. He loved books. They set up a library. He set up a library in Egypt. A lot of books also were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, some of these books speak directly against the Bible, but they are not the early fathers' books per se, or they're not the pseudepigrapha. They are there, and anyone could have written these books, and they had to come into an understanding that everybody didn't like each other, when it came down to text. But none of them went above the dates. The dates always stay in. This is one thing the books have in common. They kept the dates in contents of the information they were given. So they didn't go into the hundreds, thousands of years. So they didn't go into the 10,000 years. They stayed within the proper date, even though the information might have been wrong. They did not skew the dates. And you go back pick up some more other books, and you'll see the dates stay current to the original text, the Hebrew text, and it stay current to the King James Version. So there's no really discrepancy concerning dates. The dates are never exceeded the thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They're always in common with dates. I mean, the information across the board have not embellished the dates. In none of these books, even the ones found in the Dead Sea Scroll, even the books that talk about the angels falling, we got a discrepancy in one of the books that called itself the Book of Enoch. However, in the Book of Enoch is when we first get the information that Christ is coming with 10,000 of his saints. And that was, Enoch is the seventh from Adam. That means the seventh seed line from Adam. And if you go back to the book of Matthew, you'll see they stay his seed line, 7 from Adam, just like it says. Just like it said. And those days don't exceed 10,000 years. They don't even exceed 9,000 years. They don't exceed 6,000 years. So when you hear millions of years, they're not getting it from the Bible. And the Bible goes far back, and there's no discrepancy. No historian in the Bible denies the fact that the Bible dates are correct. They don't deny that. They don't say, no, these dates are wrong. They have never said. But we have dates in the millions of years that the Bible has nothing to do with. It's outside. It's talking about things that are not even in the Bible. That's why when you see some of the timelines, they speak about these prehistoric creatures and stuff, and then they bring in the timeline of the Bible, supposing that there is another document in reference to creation that has nothing to do with the Bible creation. Now that's beyond comprehension. They talk about the same creation, but yet don't mention the creation, but they put new dates on this other creation in the billions and millions, and then they put in meteor showers and dinosaurs that could not make it on the ark. No dinosaur was on the ark. And they have a constant belief that the dark part of the creation that is stated in the book of Genesis is the only part. The light part don't exist. They talk about the dark part is so immense and so much space and so many possibilities. That's the only space we live in. There's no other space. But yet the Bible, who is not disputed for the biblical readers, that in the beginning, when the Lord created the heaven and earth, he divided the light from the darkness. And this is obvious that the light part we don't live in now. We live in the dark part. But they are denying there's another space. They're denying it. They're saying they don't even refer to the people that speak outside the Bible. They got all these different explorations into the dark side. But no, they have never seen the light side. They don't even know where it is. They just know about the dark side. And the dark side also has celestial, and they have all kinds of beings and spiritual things in the dark side. The dark side is capable of producing anything you want to believe. It has that capability. Therefore, we have unimaginable things that we can talk about in reference to the dark side without evidence, and people will believe it. It has that foundation and that strength. The dark side is exactly what it's all about. It's the dark side. It enables one to believe anything that is not pertaining to the light side. It's the opposite. In the Bible it says the Lord blessed the light, but he did not bless the dark side. The dark side cannot be trusted. It cannot be relied upon. In the Bible refers many times to darkness, not in the positive sense, always in the negative sense. So anything can come out of the dark side, but it doesn't mean it's true. No, it doesn't mean it's true because it came out the dark side. And anything's possible in the dark side. Anything. If you believe, you can generate it. Rather it's true or false. It can happen. The dark side is unstable. In that part, you don't want to exist in that part forever because you'll never know the truth, you'll never know the lie, you'll never know the dimension, you'll never know anything. It is untrustworthy, the dark side. And people who rely on it cannot bet on it. They can't bet on it. They can't win on it. If anything can let you down, the dark side has already done it. It can't be blessed. It can't be blessed. It's impossible to bless the dark side. It's unreliable. We have a life form who was created. Heaven itself was created in the dark, on the dark side. Because I believe it was elements of darkness that must be brought to light. It's elements that was in the creation that have to be divided. As the light was divided from the darkness, so this creation has to be divided from right or wrong, good or bad. These things have to be divided and put in their proper places and have no association with one another ever again. To live on both assumptions or both foundations is madness. You can't live by both of them. People call it hypocrisy. You're a hypocrite. Using both. You got to stand on this side or that side. The dark side is wild and crazy. Somehow, the third and fourth generation lean to the dark side. And they go crazy in that side. It's no peace. It's no agreement. It's no love. And this hate can be turned into love, apparently, but not really love. Betrayal. These things comes out of the dark side, not the light side. All the things unimaginable. And some people say, I can't believe that this has happened or has happened. On the dark side, believe it. There's nothing incredibly wicked that cannot occur in that darkness. That darkness cannot exist, and we cannot exist in it. Therefore, the creation, in my opinion, was created on the darkness to separate it from the light. The test is to come out of the darkness and believe in one single thing. There's not many things to believe in. The only thing in the light side that you're asked to believe in is God. That's it. Nothing else. Only God can separate anybody from the dark side to the light side. And that's what God's looking for. Elements that cannot stand the darkness. Elements that cannot survive in the darkness. They must come to the light. And they are drawn to the light by their hatefulness, hatred towards the darkness. And by their exhaustion, being exalted, being pressed down and overwhelmed by all kinds of betrayals and evilness and meanness and cruelty, that they search for something else. And those people who do a methodical search will find the light. But if not, their whole existence, nothing coming out the dark side that does not belong in the light. Nothing. It's trapped in the darkness forever. Also, the spirits, so that they cannot perform anything in the darkness as they do now. Spirits, alive or dead, they are cast into a prison that was designed that they cannot get out. You know what I'm talking about. If you're a biblical reader, they in that prison and they will never be able to get out ever. So they cannot do anything on the dark side but to be there forever. That's about it. They can't create. They can't. Right now, they can do things in the dark side. It's been permitted. As you can see, they're building kingdoms, laws. They're having a ball. But it always ends up chaotic. It always ends up untrustworthy. It has no elements of stableness. Smile on that side and frown on that side. A hand of peace out with love on this side, and the other hand got a knife in it. That's the dark side. And that's is a yesterday example that I'm giving. Repentance means more than what you think. All of us who was born in the dark side, created on the dark side, had to repent for that. Yeah, because we had participated. We became souls. And we have signed agreements to give our whole existence to the dark side. We had to break that agreement. We had to break that agreement and come to the light. Where is the eternal life? Only in one way, not two ways, one way. It don't have knowledge, it don't have the tree of the knowledge of evil and good. It's a tree of life with no evil in it, period. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is a mixture of them both. They'll never come out of it. The mixture is always there to confuse. It's complex and never going to go away. Though you think something good, you're always going to think something evil. Though you think something evil, you're always going to think something good. You're mixing them up. So come to the light side.
you.